Okay, we're doing chapter 15 to 20 of Life of Pi. This one is going to be a little bit of a shorter video, I believe. There's not much to unpack here, but it does hold some significance. Okay, so chapter 15 is just the author of Pi's story saying that Pi's house is filled with like different things from the Christian religion, the Hindu religion, the Islam religion, and he just says like he has pictures and Bibles and things in the house that relates or have all three. So he worships three religions, or he follows three religions rather. And then chapter 16, Pi says we're all born like Catholics in limbo. We're all born without religion. And this is just him showing how telling how he started being religious. His aunt was very like traditional, and she introduced him to Hinduism. And so that sowed the seed for this religious growth that he was going to experience. And then he ends off this chapter by saying, he talks about his foster mother in Canada, and then he ends off this chapter by saying we are essentially one and the same. So every religion is one and the same. And then chapter 17, he talks about how he discovered Christianity. He talks about how his family went on a trip, on a like little holiday, and there's like the three different worshipping places there. So for the Hindus, the Muslims, and the Christians. And then he finds out about Jesus and Jesus dying on the cross for our sins, and he can't understand why, so he keeps asking the father of the church, and the father keeps saying because of love. And then Pi eventually says like the more he learned about this, the more he wanted to know about Jesus, even though it didn't make sense. And then as they were leaving the place, when their holiday was done, he runs up to the church, or not as they were leaving, but before they were going to leave, and he says, Father, I want to be a Christian. And the father says to him, whoever meets Christ in good faith is a Christian. So that's how Pi became a Christian. And then chapter 18, he says like how he went and looked at the Muslim part of the town area, and he sees like these breads that he's very curious about. He says it's a bit like naan bread, but it's like hard and a bit rubbery. And then he meets a baker who shows him his bakery, and then he sees this baker worshipping, or I don't believe worshipping is the right word, maybe it is, if it's not, please correct me, but he sees the way the Muslims pray, and then he says Islam is like an easy sort of exercise. That's what he thought. And then chapter 19, he goes back to the baker and he asks what the religion is about, and that chapter is just a short little chapter showing how he goes with the baker and he discovers a little bit about that religion. And then chapter 20, he says, or he reveals that the baker's name is Satish Kumar, and he basically goes on to say that Mr. Satish Kumar, the teacher, and Mr. Satish Kumar, the baker, were the prophets of his Indian youth. Because now remember, he studied religion and he studied zoology, and he thanks both the Satish Kumars for that. And that's pretty much like a short summary of these last chapters. Once again, I will link the videos for you to listen to, so that you can have these chapters read to you, unless you're of course reading them yourself. And yeah, so that's just like a little summary. There's not much to unpack here, but you must remember that there are two Satish Kumars. That has a significance.